Hello, let's practice for test 11. I will be modeling how to do things with writing the problems as well as showing a little bit with the calculator and the talker. So let's jump right in with number one. Pedro used a compass to draw a circle with a radius of 5 centimeters. What was the circumference of the circle? Well, if we're drawing this, we're going to draw a circle. Come on. All right, draw a circle. Oh, I think my stylus is dying here. Hold on. Okay, draw a circle. Oh, my stylus is dying. Okay, that's the problem. Okay, let's try this again. All right, I will draw a circle with my finger here. Okay, and it has a radius of 5 centimeters. Okay, so what is the circumference of the circle? Remember that the circumference is equal to 2 pi r. So when we calculate that out, we've got 2 times 3.14, which we use for pi, times the radius of 5 centimeters. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. So if we multiply 10 times 3.14, that's just moving the decimal place. So we should move the decimal place one place to the right. So it'd be 31.4 centimeters for the circumference. Okay, so you can just type that out if you were in the talker, or you can use the calculator to calculate with 2 times 3.14 times 5. And then once you've got it all up there, 2 times 3.14 times 5 is 31.4 centimeters. Okay, so back to that. And to the next problem. What is the product of 1.6 and 0.075? Okay, so product means multiply. So we're going to set that up here. I'm going to put, um, you can put either number on top, but for space reasons, I'm going to put the one that's longer on top. 0.075 times 1.6. So 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 3 is 45. And then 6 times 0 and 6 times 0. Okay, next row, we put a 0 for the placeholder. Come on. I don't know what the deal is here. Hey, come on, come on, come on. There we go. I don't know why it took so long. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 7 is 7. And then 0 and 0. Now we can count here. 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. Oh, first we have to add these together. 0. 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1. And then that's 12. And we've got, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So 0, 0.120 for the answer. All right, let's try that with the calculator. Moving that to the side. Oops. clear it up. The product of 1.6 times 0.075 equals 0.12. All right, there we go. Let's move on to the next one. What is the perimeter of the rectangle? Okay, so the perimeter is all the way around the rectangle. So we're going to have two sides of 11 and two sides of 33. So let's go ahead and add those up. So 11 and 33 and 33. And we add those up. We've got 3 and 3 is 6, 7, 8. So we've got 88 centimeters for the perimeter. If we did it with the calculator, well, let's do it with the talker. Again, we could say our answer, set it up. We'll use math so that we can use the addition sign. We'll do 11. Let's go to the next. Hold on. And then if you add those up, 1, 1, 3, 3, that's 88. We could give our answer this way by going to the page with 88 and answer that way. And if we had done it with the calculator, the same thing. 11 plus 11 plus 33 plus 33 equals 88. Okay, on to the next problem. Now we have that same rectangle with sides of 11 and 33, and we are going to calculate the area. That's the area inside this rectangle. And to do that, we want to multiply the base times the width, or the two perpendicular sides there. So let's do that. We're going to take 33 centimeters times 11 centimeters. So 1 times 33 is 33. 0 for the placeholder. 1 times 33 is 33. Then we add those rows up. Oops, let me go down a little bit. Oops, not that way. So I'll do that over here. 33 plus 3, 30 would give us 3 in the ones place, 6 in the tens place, and 3 in the hundreds place. And the units on that is going to be centimeters squared. 363 centimeters squared. So the way we would say that on here is back to the 11. Then we'd have to type in 363, which I don't think our numbers go that high. So we would have to go. Oh, no, not that one. Back it up. Where's the delete on here? Backspace. 363. Okay. 363. Okay, moving on to the next one. What is the ratio length to width of the rectangle? Now, when you're talking about length and width, It could be either direction described as the length or the width, but usually the length is the longer of the two sides and the width is the shorter of the two sides. So if we say that this ratio of length being 33, to width being 11, we need to take a look at that and see if it can be reduced. If there are any numbers that can go into both sides so that we can lower both sides to reduce the fraction, if you will. So definitely we see that both of those are divisible by 11. So if we take both sides divided by 11, we get 3 to 1 is the ratio length to width of that rectangle. Okay. And we'll notice that if we had done it with calculator and had plugged that in there, 3 divided by 11 equals 3. And that would be 3, and 11 by divided by 11 would be 1. All right, let's move on to the next problem. Grace answered 85% of the 40 questions correctly. How many did she answer correctly? Well, this is a multiplication problem. And we recognize that 85% is the same as multiplying by 0.85. That's 85 hundredths. So if we take 40 times 0.85, actually, I'm going to flip that because there's not very much room here. 0.85 times 40 is the same thing. All right, so we've got 0 as the place marker because 0 times all that is 0. Then we go to the tens place here. 4 times 5 is 20. Carry the 2. 4 times 8 is 32 plus 2 is 34. Carry the 3. 4 times 0 is 0 plus 3 is 3. And then we have to count 1, 2 decimal places. 1, 2. So the answer is 34 of the questions. Grace must answer correctly to get 85% on that assignment. If we were doing this with the calculator, oh, I got rid of my calculator. Better get that back. Hold on, I need to reshare my calculator. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, there it is. Oh, but I need to share it. Hold on, hold on, hold on. There we go. Gotta share the calculator. Okay, back to the problem. 85% of 40. We can go to the calculator and say 40 times 0.85. That gives us 34. Um, we could probably also say, look, this particular calculator, not all calculators have this, but we can see up here that there is a percent sign. So let's try going 40 times, I'm going to put in parentheses, 85%. And it's not letting me. 85%. I'm not sure why it's doing it that way. Okay, forget that I just said that. But yes, 40 times 0.85 is probably the best way to go because you can do that with the most simplest calculator. Okay, let me move this out of the way and then I can get back to things. Okay. We need to solve the equation 16 minus n equals 5.6. So we want to find n. All right, so we're going to want to get that equation so that n equals everything else. So this is a minus n, so we've got to add n to both sides. And so we then have 16 is equal to 5.6 plus n. Now, if we subtract 5.6 off of both sides, we get, well, let's turn that to a 5, turn that to a 10, 0.4, and 15 minus 5 is 10, and that's going to be equal to n. Okay, so if we want to check that, we can check it with our calculator. That's another great use for our calculator. So let's see, if we put 10.4 in for n, if we go 16 minus 10.4, what do we get? Let's see, 16 minus 10.4 equals 5.6. And that's exactly what we expected. 16 minus 10.4 equals 5.6. Okay, moving on to the next one. We need to compare 0.030 and 0.003. Well, we see that this is in the tenths, or I mean in the hundredths place, and this is in the thousandths place. So that means that the one here is going to be bigger. So we would put a greater than sign between 0.03 and 0.003. We can also answer that on the talker by going to the math pages. We do have those buttons and say that 0.03. Oops, that's not what it said. Huh, it's saying backslash on my chat editor. On the talker, it actually says greater than. So you have the greater than buttons. That's very weird that it's not saying that correctly, but it does say it correctly on the actual device. So those greater than and less than buttons are available on the math pages. Okay, let's go to the next one. What is the decimal numeral for 133 hundredths? Now keep in mind that 100 means that it's going to be on the left side of the decimal, and hundredths means that it's going to be on the right side of the decimal. So we've got 133 hundredths. So if we do 33 is the rightmost one, this is tens, this is hundredths. So 33 hundredths. So 100.33. If you're in the talker and you want to type that out, I would recommend using the numbers off the QWERTY. So if you go to the main page, hit clear, hit shift, it would be 100.33. And that's how it would speak. All right, going to the next one. We want to round 1,234.567 to the nearest hundredth. It says hundredth, so that means to the right of the decimal place. And where's the decimal place for hundredths? Tens is the first one, hundredths is the second one. So we write the numbers as they are up until we get there. 0.5. Now we have to decide if that 6 stays a 6 or is next number closer to the next number up. And at 7, it is above 5. So it is actually closer to the next number. So that is going to change it to a 7 in the hundredths place if you're rounding to the hundredths. So be very careful. It's going to round to the hundredths because we only want 2 decimal places, go to the hundredths, and that thousands place was so high that it is actually closer to the next hundredth. All right, moving to the next one. We've got some mixed fractions here that we're going to add. So let's go ahead and do that. If we add them as they are, Let's do that, and then we'll see how much we have on our fraction end of things to see if that gives us any additional whole numbers. So if we add the fractions, we get they have the same denominator, so that's great. If we add the numerators, 1 and 5, we get 6 in the numerator, 6 in the denominator, and we get 5 plus 3 is 8 in the whole numbers, but 6 over 6 is one whole number. So that actually means that the total answer is 9. Now, if we wanted to put this into our calculator to figure it out, let me shrink my stuff here so I can see our reference numbers again. 5 and 1/6 plus 3 and 5/6. So I am going to use my parentheses to bunch things up appropriately. So 5 and 1/6, I'm going to write as a parenthesis, then 5 plus 1/6. So there's another parenthesis, 1 divided by 6. So there's the sixth, and there's 5 and a sixth. And then I am adding that to the second mixed number. So I'm going to start with a parenthesis. We've got 3 plus a fraction, which is 5 divided by 6. And then we finish off that fraction, and we finished off that second mixed number. And then we finish off our whole problem. So 5 and 1/6 is equal to, or 5 and 1/6 plus 3 and 5/6 is equal to 9, just as we came out with on the problem. So let's go to mixed number subtraction here. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit trickier because we have the fraction parts. The smaller number actually has a bigger fraction than the first number. So what we're going to do is we're going to borrow from the whole number, turn that to an 8. And the one that we borrow is really 4 over 4. So this now becomes 5 over 4. So we can then do the fractions. 5/4 minus 3/4 is 2/4. And 8 minus 1 is 7. Now that fraction there is not reduced. So let's do that one more time. Reducing that 7 and 2/4 to 2/4 is also known as 1/2. So our answer there is 7 and 1/2. Now, if we wanted to do that with our calculator, let's give that a try. Just like we did that previous one, I'm going to use my parentheses to kind of bunch things together appropriately. And the first number was 9 and a quarter. So let's start with a parentheses. 9 plus a quarter, 1 divided by 4. So finish off the quarter, finish off the mixed number. 9.25. Yes, that's 9 and a quarter. And we are subtracting 1 and 3/4. So we have a parentheses, 1 plus 3 divided by 4. So finish off the 3/4, finish off the 1 and 3/4. 1.75 is 1 and 3/4. And then we hit equals to get 7.5, the same answer that we had written out. Okay, let's go to the next problem. Now we are multiplying fractions. We've got 5/9 times 27/35. Well, we're going to want to kind of reduce these a bit or see if we could. So let's give that a try. So I am going to come over here to make this a little bit easier to do. And I am going to kind of look at that 27 over 35 a little bit differently. Okay. The 27 has a 3 in it times a 3 times a 3, right? Because 3 times 9 is 27. And the 35 has, well, that's, got a 5 and a 7 in it, right? 5 and a 7, right? 5 times 7 is 35. And 9, yeah, I'm going to rewrite this one as 3 times 3. Now we can try and simplify this a little bit. Let me get a different color. And we are going to cancel some things out. All right. So this 3 can cancel out this 3. And this 5 can cancel out this 5. And you know what? This 3 can cancel out this 3. So what are we left with? In the numerator, we are left with just a 3. And in the denominator, we are left with just a 7. Now, let's see if we can check this with our calculator, okay? Because that's a good idea if you have one handy. So let's see here. Let me move our original question over a smidge so I can see it. All right. We have got the first fraction is 5 divided by 9. And we're multiplying that by the second fraction, which is 27 divided by 35. And then we hit enter. Well, this is saying that it is 0.42857. Let's see if that's the same thing as the fraction that we got. After we reduced those down to prime numbers, we ended up with 3/7. Okay, so let me write here. Our calculator says 0.428. I'll just make that 429. We'll just round it there to the thousandths place. 429. And what is 3 divided by 7? 3 divided by 7. Look at that, same number. 0.429 if we round it. So yes, that's the same answer, 3/7. And if you have a calculator that has fraction mode, it may have given you that answer as a fraction. Or you can always check your fraction by seeing if it gives you the same decimal number as the calculator did to do the problem. So there's a couple different ways for you to check your work there. Okay, let's go to the next problem. We want to solve for m. M plus 5/6 equals 3 1/6. Okay, well, if we subtract 5/6, we could just say m equals 3 1/6 minus 5/6. Okay, that's similar to the problems we just did. And since the fractional part is bigger on the what's being subtracted, so I'm going to borrow from the whole number here and turn this into 7/6. So then we have 7/6 minus 5/6 is 2/6. And 2 minus 0 is 2. And 2/6 can be further reduced to 2 1/3. Now, 1/3 is a decimal number that we're kind of used to seeing, or we will be pretty soon. So I would expect to see on the calculator, if we did this problem, 2.3333 is the same thing, repeating 3. So let's give it a chance, okay? So clear. All right, we've got, what did I say? We were going to rewrite that as 3 1/6. Oops, I'm putting too many in there. 3 plus 1 divided by 6 minus the fraction 5, oops, 5 divided by 6. So 2.3333. So that's how you double check your answer there. All right. Ooh, we're getting a little tricky here. We've got 5.93 divided by 10 squared. So we're just starting to do some squared numbers. Squared means that you have that number times itself. If it was to the third power, it'd be that number times that number times that number. But in this case, it's 10 squared. So 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is 100. And we know that if you're multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000, you can usually just move the decimal place over the right number of places. So if you've got 5.93 times 100, you can move the decimal place to the right 2 times to get 593. Come on, 90. Here, let me make this a little bigger. 593. Okay, we can also double check that with our calculator. Let's do 5.93 divided by, was it divided by? Sorry, did I do this wrong? Oh, I didn't multiply by 100. I divided by 100. I needed to go the other direction. See, sometimes you gotta pay more careful attention. Sorry, let me get rid of that. Okay, so when you divide by 100, so this is 593 divided by 100, that means that we're going to move the decimal place 2 places to the left. So 5.93 1000. So there's the new decimal place. The new answer should be 0.0593. Let's give it a check. Okay, let's start again. 5.93 divided by 10 squared. You could do it this way. You could do 10 times 10. Make sure it's within that parentheses for the denominator and then hit enter. So 0.0593. Calculator, checking your work with the calculator is good. It'll catch your mistakes, even mine. All right. We've got 32.4 divided by 0.6. Okay, let's do this as long division. 32.4 divided by 0.6. We're going to move the decimal place over one spot for both. Okay, kind of run out of room there. Should have been a little more careful. 6 goes into 32 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. So you subtract those, you get 2, bring the 4 down. 6 goes into 24. Oh, 4 times. 4 times 6 is 24. And no remainder. So the answer is 54. Let's double check that with our calculator. 32.4 divided by 0.6, 54. Good. The next problem, we've got a square root now. A square root is when you have to find what squared equals that number. So that's like saying x squared equals 16. What is x? That's the same thing as saying, what is the square root of 16? Well, the number that we have to multiply by itself to get 16 is 4. So let's rewrite the problem. 4 divided by 0.2, and we move the decimal place. So 2 goes into 4 2 times. Oh, sorry, that makes a 4. 0 comes down. 0. So the answer is 20. Let's double check that with our calculator. All right, we're getting to some fancier things here. So we're going to do a parentheses. We're going to do a square root. That's that little square root x. Now, why did it put a 2 there? Does that mean that it's a square? Well, we'll try it. 16. Good. Yep. I'm not quite sure why it put the 2. Maybe to designate that it's a square root and not like a cube root or something like that. That's a little different. Anyway, so square root of 16 is 4. And then what did we do? We divided by 0.2. So let's do that. 4 divided by 0.2 is 20. So the answer is 20. You know, if that gets confusing, if that square root on our calculator gets confusing, another way to do the square root is a half power. So if you do 16 to the half power, that's the same thing as the square root. Let's check it on the calculator. If we do 16 and then we use this power button here, and we want to do it to the 0.5 power, or I could do it as a half. I could do that. Let's do that. 1 divided by 2. Oops, 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 oops. Hold on. 1 divided by 2. Oh, sorry. It's just, never mind. We'll just do it as 0.5. Okay, starting again. 16 to the 0.5 power is 4. So that's another way to show a square root as well, is doing the power to the 0.5 power or the half power. Okay, the next one, we are adding fractions, but they don't have the same denominator. So let's fix that, shall we? All right. We can easily change this 1/5 to being into tenths. So we're going to multiply both the top and the bottom by 2. So now we're going to have 2 tenths plus 3 tenths equals 5 tenths, but that is not reduced. We can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 5, and in doing so, we get 1/2. So that the answer is 1/2. If we go to our calculator to check that answer, we had, what was it? 1/5 and 3 tenths. So 1 divided by 5. Don't forget those parentheses. Plus 3 tenths. 3 divided by 10 equals 0.5, which is equal to 1/2. All right, now we're going to reduce this problem. That's similar to one of the previous problems that we did, where we um, got it all down into the prime factors so that we could cancel a lot of stuff out. So let's go ahead and do that. Cancel those 2's. Got to have the same thing on top and bottom to cancel. All right. And that's as far as we can go. So what we are left with is a 5 in the numerator and a 2 times 3, which is 6, times 7. 6 times 7 is 42. And that is the final fraction. Let's double check that. We can figure out what that would be in decimals by doing this. Oh, sorry, that's 42 into 5. 42, 8, bring it down, 1, 42. Come on. It's not writing. Anyway, it's going to be 0.11 something. Let's try it. All right. So if we plug this in here, let's see what the original was. Just to check. So in the numerator, we got a parentheses, 2 times 3 times 5, and parentheses, divided by the denominator, parentheses, 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 7, we get 0.119047. Same number as that fraction, means the same thing as 5/42. Okay, I think this is our last one. Which decimal number is it pointing to? Let me go ahead and zoom this in if I can. Oops. Undo that. It's not letting me zoom. All right, well, hopefully you can see this well enough. We can see that there's a 1 here and a 2 here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 segments that it's broken into. So how many segments? It's further than 1, but not quite to 2. So it's going to be between 1 and 2, and it's going to be point something, and that something is going to be a pretty high number. So let's count how many tenths, because each of these divisions here is a tenth. So 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8. So the answer is 1. Ooh, now it's zooming. That's not what I wanted to do. 1.8. Zoom back there. 1.8. And that would be whatever units it is. So if it's centimeters, it would be centimeters. Okay, and so well, you couldn't really like calculate this on the calculator or the talker. You could definitely try and say it with the calculator by doing 1 and 0.8. And then you might have to spell centimeters. Ah, it's not letting you. Oh, yeah. Do they have distances in here? Measurements? Yep, just another thing that would be helpful is some units in the math department. Okay, so hopefully at some point they will add units to the math, or to, more importantly, to this page right here. So, or maybe even like a navigation to a page for units. That would be nice. So then you could just say 1.8 and centimeters instead of having to do them separately. 1.8 and then 1.8 centimeters. So then you would have to break it up and do the number and the unit separate, because it's going to lose the number when you go to type in the units. Anyway, so that is where we are for today. Hopefully this helps you to use your calculator or your talker while you are communicating what you are doing in math. Have a great day. Bye now.